So this is my first video on the explanation series on time entries. And we're going to start today by looking at the work done in the selected month. So effectively in Action Step, you are logging time entries to matters within Action Step. And what we're doing with that information is we're creating 6 key metrics that we'll be using in Cloudify Inform. And they are recorded hours, client hours, number of matters worked, billable hours, utilization based off recorded hours, and utilization based off client hours. So going through it, recorded hours is just every single hour that you have recorded with a date in the month selected. So if I select March 2022, 3,923 hours were recorded in Action Step. And if I select a different month, I managed to unselect it. If I select a different month, we can see different values because they relate. It relates to that month. So we're now seeing only time entries from May 22. So we saw 2,210 recorded hours, but how many hours were spent on billable matters? So some firms will use matters to record time against non-client work. So this might be internal processes, it might be in relation to sick leave, annual leave, it might be due to sales or prospecting. There's lots of different reasons why you'd have a non-billable matter type. Client hours is recorded hours, but only those recorded against billable matters. And so the next question is, well, Stuart, what's billable matters? And so data quality and settings section has this service mapping where we tell you what we are considering non-billable, but you can easily email and say this shouldn't be non-billable, this should be billable, and that's something that we can work through. Back to that then. The table here shows the billing behavior field for each time entry, and it shows the grouping of those. And we have recorded hours. I'm just going to sort it by recorded hours. So we have a lot of recorded hours as non-billable. We have some as bill, some as hide, some as no charge, and we have the grand total, which is that 2,210. We also have billable hours as recorded from Action Step, which is 707, which is set to bill. So the difference between those two numbers is that for some time entries, you'll have a different billable hours to actual hours spent, and we're seeing that difference there, and the same for hide. So these first two columns are what Action Step gives us, and then we apply some logic to come up with what the client hours are used in Inform and the billable hours that are used in Inform. And so the client hours for Inform are all hours, so these recorded hours that are on billable matters. So you can see that of this 1375 non-billable, 270 was non-billable, but on billable matters. And so we can see how we get to that 1,094. And what the text here says is that some clients like to exclude this hide. So that you may say, okay, well, I don't want those 71 hours contributing to client hours. Can you remove them? And that's simple for us to do. The number of matters worked is number of billable matters worked. So it's the same matters that we're talking about these hours for. The billable hours are the billable hours shown here. And so for the billable hours, we're removing non-billable. We keep no charge because that's where we've made a choice not to bill. As I've said before, you have the opportunity to remove hide. You also have the ability to remove no charge. So if your specific firm says, I want 707 as this number, then and that's all I want to include in billable hours, then you can do that. The utilization calculations are shown then. We actually show the real numbers that are driving this 35.2 and the 71.1. So you can see that we are dividing the number of billable hours by the number of recorded hours to get to that 35.2%. We are also comparing the 778.1, which is the billable hours divided by the client hours to give you that utilization of 71.1%. So those two utilizations are throughout the report. We don't really use it. We don't use them in the free pages, but we have them available as key metrics within that report. And the client hours and the billable hours are what we compare to the KPIs that come from Action Step. So Action Step gives us two KPIs: KPI for actual hours, KPI for billable hours. We compare the KPI for the actual hours against client hours, and we compare the KPI for billable hours against billable hours. So that's just a way of saying that these are the two metrics here that get compared to the KPIs that you can enter in Action Step. So that's part one. We've done the time entries and those 6 metrics. As you can see on the right hand of this page, the next video will be on what work that has been done has been billed.